are going to choke off the money to schools that aid the Marxist assault on our American heritage and on Western civilization itself. The days of subsidizing communist indoctrination in our colleges will soon be over.
President Trump moving towards fulfilling that promise. He froze $2 billion in funding for Harvard after the university rejected a deal with the feds, saying the government's demands went beyond fighting anti-Semitism. The president posted on Truth Social, quote, Harvard has been hiring almost all woke, radical left idiots and bird brains who are only capable of teaching failure to students and so-called future leaders. He went on to say Harvard is a joke, teaches hate and stupidity, no longer should receive federal funds. Kenneth Marcus recently settled a lawsuit against Harvard. He's founder of the Louis D. Brandeis Center for Human Rights under Law and former Assistant Education Secretary for Civil Rights under President Trump's first term and also under President George W. Bush. Great to have you here, Mr. Marcus. Thank you for joining me. So what's your reaction to this crackdown that the president is carrying out so far?
Great to be with you, Martha. I am so pleased that President Trump gets it. What we're seeing is not only the greatest spike in campus anti-Semitism of our lifetime, what we're seeing beyond that is an attack on America and Western civilization. When the anti-Zionist radicals on college campuses say we are trying to eradicate Western civilization, and that's a direct quote, we need to take them seriously. We need to understand that this is a threat not only to the Jewish community, and it is that, but to all of us.
So one of the things that is a friction point here, and the Wall Street Journal wrote an editorial about this, basically saying that the president's directive went too far. Digging into who they hire, who they admit. But I think it goes back to the point that you just made, Kenneth, which is are the students at this university that gets large federal funding being taught different viewpoints? Are they being taught to hate the country? And if so, maybe that's not in the best interest of an investment from the federal government, regardless of who is president.
This is what President Trump clearly understands, but which university faculties do not. Yeah. This is not just a matter of a few incidents, bad as they are. It's not just a matter of a few assaults and batteries, of takeover of campus buildings, of encampments and the rest. This is a broad-based attack on what we stand for as Americans and as Westerners, and there's a reason for that. It is not as if these universities are just innocent bystanders. For generations, they have trained cadres of students who will give up on U.S. values and attack Western civilization. That is something that one sees when there is a monolithic intellectual orthodoxy that is at the political extreme. This is not just a lack of viewpoint diversity. This is the kind of intellectual rot that is a breeding ground, not just for error, but for assault, for riot, for an undermining of our institutions. That's why it's gotten to the level of crisis that requires this sort of emergency response that we're seeing from this administration.
Yeah, I think these protests that you see are an outgrowth of what's been taught for decades and decades. So it's indoctrination, it's that question. And Harvard is a private university. They don't have to take any money. President Obama said, look, this is when you lean on your endowment. And so it's not like it's going to shut them down. They have every opportunity to do this. They do fund research. I just want to make one point clear after I spoke with someone today. These Harvard Medical School and the Harvard hospitals oversee a whole number of research hospitals in Boston that are not, they're extensions outside of the four-year university, and they do fund a lot of good research. So perhaps there's a way to find ways to, fund some of these valuable programs and not at the undergraduate level of the university. So we'll see. We'll see what they work out. They are in the heat of the moment. Kenneth, thank you very much. Kenneth Marcus, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure. Thank you.